Hey guys, it's Jolene from Smith's Nature Friendly Farms. We are hanging out today and I'm super excited. We are building a worm bin. Okay, I'm the only weirdo that asked her husband for her birthday for a worm bin, of all strange things to get for your birthday. So today, that's exactly what my amazing husband is doing. He's helping me build our first worm bin. So we're super excited about this. It's going to take us a little bit to put it all together, but you guys can follow along to see how we do it. So we are working with 3 bins. You can see there's the awesome husband putting holes in the bottom of this one, and then this is the 3rd bin. This bin is the kind of catchment bin. Just an interesting note, he's putting the holes in 2 bins at once for those of you interested in saving time. So one thing we noticed is that because we're using a cheap dollar store bin, not the best in the fact that it cracked in the process. Now, if you have the chance to get bins, we might recommend getting the more higher quality Rubbermaid bins. It'll still work just fine. We're going to be okay. They may not last as long, but it'll be great to get us started. Putting in air holes for the worms. This is for the drainage. So we're on the bin that has no holes in it. She says, "Can I help, Papa?" Oh. Having to do a little bit of surgery. Woo woo! Good job, honey. And what size PVC pipe is this?
Yeah, 3/4.
3/4?
To your valve.
Kids, don't do this at home.
Anyway, when you drain it,
Fancy.
straight out.
So we just added some sealant to this to seal it off, and other than that, it's complete. Okay, so this is how the stacking actually works. So obviously this is the first one. This is the bottom container. This is where eventually all the good juices, the water, the moisture and stuff will collect. This is the middle bin. This bin, you can see we have 2 bricks on it, and that's to keep the space in between the 2 bins for obviously the worms to live and have some dirt and all that fun stuff collect. This bin will go into this bin. In this bin, this is where we will start. This is where we'll put our worms for the beginning. This is where they will take off and have fun for the first month. And we'll have some worms, we'll have some composting materials, some leaves, all kinds of fun stuff in this bin. The 3rd bin goes on top of this. This bin will add dirt and compost as well. And over time, when these guys are done, the worms are done in here, they will move into here, naturally filtering themselves out of this bin so that we can take the compost, the worm compostings, and essentially use those in the garden as well as the goodies that flow into this bin. That's how I understand it to work. Makes sense, do you think? I'm getting the nod, so I think that's it. Okay, we've actually had some discussion after the fact, and although I have seen some versions where they use bricks in them, we are deciding not to go with the bricks. We actually think it makes better sense to, once this guy, the middle one, is filled with its dirt and composting materials and the worms, we actually think it's better that this sits directly on top of that dirt, leaving no airspace, no possible airspace, so that the worms can get through the holes properly. So we're going brickless in our version of this, despite what I have seen. So we'll see how that goes. Our first layer is going to be leaves and a little bit of twigs. There's a little bit of pine needle in there. Just happens to be with my leaves, so that'll be our first layer. Next, I'm going to add a little bit of dirt, not a lot of dirt, but just enough to give them a grittiness to go through their system. So we're going to add a bit of dirt. All right, so our bin now has a little bit of dirt, a little bit of leaves, some newspaper, and we're going to wet it. And from here, I'm going to add some more leaves, not too many more, and then I'm going to put in the worms. All right, we've got more leaves now on top of our shredded paper. Let it get wet down. All right, guys, I'm super excited. My worms have arrived from Brothers Worm Farm in Austin, Texas. And they are there, and they are live. So super stoked. Okay. Now to release the worms. Go, little healthy worms, go. Make worm poo. And I'll add some scraps into this, our first round of compost, and that'll be our beginning. We have added our compostable materials, some weeds, some veggies, that kind of fun stuff. Now this guy is done. I'll leave the worms. We'll see how they do their thing. I'm going to put the other container on the top, and I'm going to follow the same process we followed for this one to fill it without the compostable food in it yet. But I'll put some dirt and some leaves and that kind of thing so they have the ability to move up. And we'll test it out. I'm going to give it about 30 days and we'll give you guys an update on how it goes. If we have nothing but dead worms, this project was a failure. Won't be the first time. If we have lots of new worms or we just have thriving worms, that'll be fantastic news. I'll be really excited about that. So we'll share an update. All right, guys, that's our fun worm bin for today. My dad told me on the phone today, he says, now you can get yourself a shirt that says, I have worms. Great idea, Dad. I'll have to get myself that shirt for sure. All right, guys, I have some bonus tips on our worm bin here that I've kind of discovered after the fact since we've made this bin, and I'm going to add them into the video here. So first tip was I learned that they actually can't be out in temps below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So that means I actually have to bring these guys inside because it's going to be too cold this weekend for these guys. And the second thing is 24 hours after you put your bin together and put your worms actually in the bin, check your bottom bin. It'll get some water in it, and some worms escape as they kind of play around in their new area, and you could lose a couple of worms. I mean, if you may not care, but I was like, I don't want to lose any worms. I want them all. I paid money for these guys. So I basically scooped them out within the 24 hours. They were still alive. They were just fine. They hadn't drowned, and I put them back in, and I haven't seen any since. So they do maneuver a bit in the first 24 hours to check your bottom bin. Why don't we check and see are they still alive? Let's take a look. So super exciting. I can see them alive and moving. Oh yeah. So it was actually kind of hard to hold the light and do the video at that same time. So I will just tell you that they are very much alive. It's super exciting because they're actually on both levels. They're on the bottom level and the top level. And if I dig a little bit, there's lots of them. So super excited. They seem to be living. I have tried this once before and they really died off quite quick. So this looks like it's working. So stay tuned. You guys, be friendly, be kind.